And just like that, the 49ers have the most salary cap space in the entire NFL.
I really like to play with my little brother Fred Warner with the Niners. I think they got something cooking over there. I know they love Joey Bosa, right? Because Nick and all that. I get that.
Details of the Trent Williams contract are in, and the 49ers actually opened up over 26 million in 2026 room. We had predicted that Trent would be in the low 20s. Well, it's almost 20 million flat for the 2026 salary cap hit because the 49ers were able to apply even more creative techniques than we had anticipated. They covered all of their bases here. There's even a no holdout bonus in this new deal for Trent Williams that will give him 11.5 million additional guarantees if he does not hold out in 2027 and reports to every single part of the 49ers offseason. Obviously, holdouts or the threat of them have been an issue with Trent Williams in the past, and the 49ers trying to get ahead of things. In fact, the way this works functionally, if Trent Williams does not hold out next offseason, then this is effectively a 2-year deal worth $47.5 million fully guaranteed, which is number 6 in terms of average per year amongst offensive tackles. Also, this deal sets the table for the 49ers to employ Trent Williams up to his age 40 season. He's currently 37, going to turn 38 in July. So 38 for 2026, 39 for 2027. Then the deal is set to expire, but there is a $50 million poison pill set to vest into a full guarantee on the 10th day of the 2028 new league year. What this means is that the 49ers and Trent Williams are going to have to figure out if they want to extend their arrangement beyond 2027 before the 2028 NFL draft, around mid-March, maybe late March of 2028. So unlike this season where there was a soft deadline and they could kick the can down the road with the option bonus and all those prorations, $50 million will hit fully guaranteed, and the 49ers definitely don't want to pay that for Trent Williams when he's about to turn 40 years old in 2028. So they will be incentivized, if they want to keep him beyond 2027, to figure something out by that 10th day of the new league year. But all things considered, the 49ers have smoothed out their 2026 salary cap situation. Trent Williams, who had that $46.3 million hit for this season temporarily, now down, as I said, to 20 million, ranks third on the San Francisco team. Purdy at 23.7 million. Nick Bosa right behind him at 23 million. Then Trent, then Fred Warner at 17.9, George Kittle at 14.6, Christian McCaffrey at 10.9 million, and Deommodore Lenoir at 8.9 million. Nice and even at the top. As I mentioned, the 49ers, if you look at a top 51 scale, which is how it's counted over the offseason, only the 51 most valuable contracts of the 90-man roster count against the cap. 49ers have the most salary cap space now in the entire NFL. Over the cap calculates this at about $71 million. And that is needed because if you look forward to 2027, the 49ers have the third least salary cap space in the NFL. Unused space carries over from season to season. So the 49ers obviously aren't going to use all 71 million this year. They're going to need to carry over a lot to make up for the fact that they don't have a lot in 2027 and beyond. This is the way that the 49ers have structured things intentionally. You look at the 49ers contracts and they're all staggered out into the future with more money using those signing and option bonuses. For example, Trent Williams has a $21.9 million cap hit in 2027, and then 2028, not even going to be on the team according to this contract. Now they can extend it, but he carries a $28.1 million cap number that season. For Brock Purdy, you've got serious escalation. 2027, 30.1 million, up from the 23.7 million this year. But then in 2028 and 2029, Purdy is 56.9 million and 71.8 million respectively. Of course, the 49ers can lower and can be expected to lower those numbers in those seasons by continuing to push money forward. It has proven to be sustainable. What the 49ers have done here on the aggregate is showing to be sustainable because the NFL salary cap grows year over year. You just can't do too much of this, and you've got to watch where your expenditures are. That's why the 49ers can't just go out and sign anybody right now with the money that they have, because they have to leave enough carryover space. It seems to me that they've gotten very, very efficient at doing business right around the time when Brian Hampton, who is now in his 22nd year with the organization, moved to assistant general manager, and he is a key point person on these contracts. Hampton, you could see in the photo here of the 49ers war room running all the numbers during the NFL draft. Hampton was promoted to assistant general manager last summer in June, and that was following the deals for Brock Purdy, of which Hampton was a very, very big part, for Fred Warner and George Kittle. Remember that all three of the 49ers' big contracts last offseason, combined with the Trent Williams deal this offseason, have gotten done early. The Brandon Ayuk mess, that didn't get done early. That got done right before the start of the 2024 regular season, and that was on the tail end of a bunch of contracts that had turned into holdouts, and it just wasn't a good situation for the 49ers. So they've been very, very expeditious with their contracts over the past 2 years. Maybe an adjustment in process behind the scenes. And I can tell you there's been an adjustment in title behind the scenes for the 49ers as Brian Hampton has taken over as assistant general manager. And I think very clearly is doing a good job for the 49ers. Now, you guys know that I also maintain a salary cap sheet, and this one I think is more accurate when it comes to building the 49ers roster, because it measures and projects on the 53-man scale, which will come into effect during the regular season after the roster cut down. As you can see, $54.85 million, the space right now for the 49ers, but that is including the full cap hit this year still for Brandon Ayuk at $14.64 million. 49ers will save something between $6 and $8 million when Brandon Ayuk is jettisoned. We'll see if it happens via trade, via release, or, there's a chance too that they continue this proration for Brandon Ayuk moving forward if he doesn't show up and they don't find a trade partner. But in all likelihood, it looks like the 49ers are going to shoot up over $60 million in salary cap space, because there will be a post-June 1st parting with Brandon Ayuk. And that would mean dead money staved off into the future, 2027 and beyond. So for all functional reasons, the 49ers will be over that $60 million mark. A lot of people ask me, well, can the 49ers sign other guys? Of course they can, but they want to keep this sustainable moving into the future. We talked about Joel Bitonio. We talked about Joey Bosa a lot heading into the NFL draft. Exiting the draft, I don't think those two are particularly likely, because they have absolutely loaded up on the defensive line, and they also drafted 2 offensive linemen. Now, is something still possible as the offseason progresses, as training camp happens, and the 49ers might encounter some injuries, or maybe they look at how their performers are doing at actual practice? Sure, if Joel Bitonio is still in shape and he does want to play in 2026 and he's not on the team, and the 49ers feel that they need an emergency signing to fill that left guard position, yeah, I mean, they do have the money to do that in the short term. But in an ideal world, you look at what the 49ers have already added this offseason. Robert Jones comes in with about $1.3 million guaranteed, the veteran guard. He's probably the favorite to start at left guard, but Carver Willis, 4th-round pick out of the University of Washington, is going to be a candidate for that spot as well. So will somebody like Connor Colby. So will a free agent addition like Brett Toth. I think San Francisco would certainly like one of those players to effectively grab the left guard position and round out that offensive line. Of course, that's the spot that's right next to Trent Williams. We'll work in conjunction with Big Trent over there at left tackle. And last year, I think Trent's play suffered a little bit when he had to be next to Connor Colby, who was struggling for the 49ers as a rookie at left guard. So that spot, very, very important for San Francisco. Meanwhile, the defensive line, it's funny, somebody asked me, well, can I go get Myles Garrett now? Well, Myles Garrett's not a free agent. Myles Garrett would have to be traded by the Cleveland Browns. I think that the likelihood that Cleveland trades Myles Garrett is lower, since they couldn't get their proposal passed at the NFL owners meetings to be able to trade picks up to 5 years in advance for players. I think that the Browns' interest in trading Myles Garrett probably very correlated to that proposal. So when we talked about that, the proposal was on the table. It didn't make it through at the NFL owners meeting. So who knows? Maybe the Browns still do decide to move Garrett at some point, but I don't find it to be likely at this point. Anyway, you would have to have a willing trade participant in order to do that. I think that what this 49ers salary cap space does above all else is that it leaves them flexible during the season. Because if you do trade for a player, say that Max Crosby becomes available again after the season begins, if the Raiders aren't any good, if you do trade for a player, you have to be able to absorb his cap hit immediately. You can't, trade for him and restructure his deal. The number that he's at has to be able to fit in a team's financial situation right away at the time of a trade. So if you go and look through the NFL's salary cap situation, the majority of teams don't have $20 million in salary cap space this year. The 49ers are at 71. The Titans are at 63. The Commanders are at 49. The Chargers are at 45 million. The Cardinals are at 40 million. Those are the 5 teams above 40 million. Those are the 5 teams who'd be able to absorb a mega salary cap hit in a trade right now. Again, it doesn't mean that the 49ers are looking to execute a mega trade as we speak. A lot of this has to be carried over to take the escalating financial structure of the 49ers contracts and pay for them sustainably. That is mandatory for San Francisco, but they do have that flexibility. And, you never know what opportunities are going to pop up. In 2022, Christian McCaffrey became available before the trade deadline, and the 49ers went ahead and nabbed him. Now, the good news for them that year is that he had just renegotiated his contract with Carolina. So they actually got him on a really small salary cap hit. I think they only paid $1 million, maybe less. Maybe it was 700 or 800,000 in that 2022 season. He was more expensive after that, but you get the idea. To absorb these deals, you do have to have operating space. And the 49ers, I think, their guiding principle, one of them, has been option power. Build in as much option power as you can. And the 49ers have definitely done that financially here entering 2026. Looking at their salary cap situation, they were able to really, really play this surf the wave of the rising salary cap game with their new signings, and probably took Mike Evans and company to play ball with San Francisco to make that happen. But Mike's salary cap hit, Mike Evans, only $4.25 million in this season. Christian Kirk's only $2.96 million. Dre Greenlaw is 1 year fully guaranteed. It's definitely worth more than, I think it's $6 million fully guaranteed, but only a $3.55 million cap hit for this season. So the 49ers definitely playing this as aggressively as possible when it comes to shifting money backwards. You want to push it backwards into those future seasons. A little bit of bonus news for you. Kyle Van Noy is going to be 35 years old this season. Edge rusher, has been to the Pro Bowl in the past. He is interested in playing for the 49ers this year. Told Kay Adams, I would really like to play with my little brother Fred Warner with the Niners. Kyle had 12 and a half sacks just 2 seasons ago in 2024 with Baltimore. Has been with a number of teams, including the Lions, the Patriots, the Dolphins, the Chargers, and then the Ravens. The 2024 season was actually the Pro Bowl year for Kyle Van Noy, who, by the way, before you scoff at this, this probably would happen later in the offseason if the 49ers find just a little bit of a plug-and-play need, given how the health situation works out up front. But with Raheem Morris now as defensive coordinator, 49ers much more interested, I think, in these 3-4 types at defensive end. I think that their scope has expanded as far as the types of ends that they want to bring in. One thing about Romello Height is that he can drop into coverage, and that's the 49ers' second-round pick. Of course, they want that speed rusher to replace a D Ford, to replace a Bryce Huff, the players who were in that lighter speed rushing role under the Robert Saleh regime and other defensive coordinators that followed him in the standard 4-3. But now that Raheem Morris is aboard and he's going to try to expand things to run more 5-man fronts, they're going to want a little bit more of a drop ability from the defensive end, the lighter defensive end on this team especially. We know that Romello Height can do it. We know that he plays with his hair on fire, can fly around in space on the field. And, Kyle Van Noy has done it. He has played in a 3-4. I'm just relaying what I saw here. Kyle Van Noy saying he's interested to be with the 49ers on Kay Adams' show. We'll see if that does develop, how it does develop, but we know that there's been good news now on the Trent Williams front. Happy to report here, even on my birthday. You know, one of the coolest things that I've done, I got my daughter's birth certificate today, went and picked it up on the same day as my birthday. One of the neater experiences in life. Sometimes the stars align, and they certainly align between Trent Williams and the 49ers. Contract saves over $26 million here in 2026 and sets the 49ers up with the most salary cap space in the league.
I really like to play with my little brother Fred Warner with the Niners. I think they got something cooking over there. I know they love Joey Bosa, right? Because Nick and all that. I get that. But I would love to play with my little brother. That's my guy, and I think they got something cooking over there.